Hey guys, and welcome back to Marvel's Avengers. Let's talk gameplay and review. So, Marvel's Avenger is at its core a Destiny Anthem-like game. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the core systems are pretty much the same. If you were to remove the Marvel property from the game, it would appear just like Anthem in a sense. In terms of
Hey,
the
Avenger,
gameplay
I got a
loops,
job for
it
you.
is pretty much exactly the same as Destiny as well. Every day
Here's
you'll
the info
log
we
in
have.
and
Hopefully it's
you'll
enough.
basically get
I knew we
the
could count
20 or
on you.
so missions from the two
Excellent.
factions that
Thank you.
exist inside the game. They are the
You'll help?
Inhumans,
Seriously?
which is
This is
Aunt Pym
really going to make a
and his
difference.
crew, and there's the Shield faction. And they all have quests that pretty much is really easy to complete. Things like gain experience, collect upgrade modules, defeat enemies with range attacks, defeat 15 riot robots. These are really cool
Yes,
missions
you
that they
gave us
give
the
you to
upper
do
hand against Dane.
simply because they don't require you to do anything special. And what I mean by that is they don't tell you how to play the game. One of my biggest pet peeves about playing Destiny, and the thing that gets boring, is everything tells me how I should play the game that day. Whether I have to switch to an SMG, use an auto assault rifle, whatever it is always telling me how I should play the game instead of letting me just play the game the way I want to. And that's the really cool thing that I think that Marvel Avengers has up on there, is that these bounties or these faction missions don't necessarily require me to play in a way that I don't want to play. I don't like SMGs. I like hand cannons. Why can't I just go out and kill, 20 or so Fallen? Why can't I just go kill out 20 or so Scorn? That's the way it is. It tells you how to play. In this game, it doesn't really tell you how to play. Nothing feels like you need to specifically go and do this thing in order to complete it. It's one of the really good aspects about the game, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. That's not to say that the game doesn't come with its fair share of cons. I'd like to get into the cons before I actually talk about the pros, just because I think that these cons are going to basically be determining factors for whether or not you wish to purchase this game and whether or not you're going to enjoy it ultimately. So let's get into the first major con,
I need a favor.
and I'm pretty sure you've probably at some
Okay,
point
here's
have
what I need.
already seen this. The
Seriously?
biggest con
You're the
is
best.
the multiplayer. The
Let
multiplayer
me know when
feels
you're
very
finished, okay?
tacked on,
Thanks.
and there are so many bugs that it becomes such an issue. Multiplayer, along with the matchmaking, the friends list, like I'll show you an instance of the friends list inside the social aspect of the game. So we can go over to social, and I can see what my strike team is, and I can see my friends list. I see players as inactive, and that means that they're my Steam line or they're offline. This shows as inactive even if a player is playing this game. How the freak does that help me at all if it's one of my friends playing the game and I don't know anything about it? I hate the fact that anytime that an invite is sent to me, it's sent to me via Steam, and the game essentially logs itself back out and logs itself back in to create a new instance with that player base. It's really odd. It's really weird. It's one of the things that really ticks me off about the game. The multiplayer inside here, invites, you basically exit to Steam and come back in. The mission challenge ratings, it's not such a big deal as such a con as it is just like one of those things that probably will tweak and work you. Meaning, like when you log into a mission and you first go to the station, you have the ability to choose a mission with your team, and basically it comes up with a challenge rating where you can see like this one is +5 from the power level that I am right now, and I can select the difficulty of it. I can select it to challenge 4, I can select it to challenge 3, 2, or 1. Now this might be a bug for me because there's plenty of bugs in this game, but it seems like that challenge rating will sometime change depending on who's jumping in the mission. There's also nothing in here to stop someone who can't meet that challenge rating requirement from jumping in with you, which seems to affect the game as well. Meaning, like if I jump in and I'm trying to do a challenge rating 4 mission on here, for instance, into the Avengers sector, and I choose challenge rating 4, which means it's probably -3 power for me or whatever, significantly increases the combat effects or whatever, right? So if I chose that mission right there and then I wanted to log in to go do excuse me, to go do this at a challenge rating 4, somebody, anybody who is chosen at random, and they could have a power level of 65 per se, can jump in on this mission. Well, that's not going to help when you have a lot of players in there are literally looking at 135s, 135s, and then they see this player that's 65 inside the game, and players are just going to leave because Crystal Dynamics hasn't quite made it clear how that works inside the game in terms of the matchmaking and how the balance is struck between having somebody on your team who's a challenge rating of 65 and whether or not I'm going to have to carry that player through the mission, and meaning they're going to be up and they're going to be down. It's a bit of a freaking issue. It's annoying as hell. It's just one of those tweaking things to me that I wish they, somehow would address. There's no ability in the game inside multiplayer for you to rejoin a mission. What the hell is the point of joining on players and then the game crashes or you get kicked for some reason and I can't rejoin the mission that I was just in? Crystal Dynamics has said that the reason for this is because the mission takes into account where the power ratings are at the beginning of the mission with the team on a whole in order to balance out the play. But this is kind of annoying. I would also like the ability to just jump into a mission. Every game that I've played in the past decade has this ability. I don't know why Marvel Avengers doesn't have it. Chest at certain locations per character or whatever. I don't quite understand. It's like there's one chest inside the game that annoys me as hell, and it has the, what do you say? They need DNA keys in order to unlock, and you get those pretty much by defeating villain sectors, and they drop inside the world. I can tell you right now, I haven't got anything good from those chests. I'm in multiplayer. Why the chest? Why does everybody have to stop at a chest in order to open up the chest? Why can't a chest be opened and then it generates a reward for everyone with inside there that we each get? The worst part about multiplayer is that, say for instance a chest is opened or you do get a drop from an enemy or something like that and you don't pick it up, guess what? You don't get that reward. It doesn't get sent to your inventory locker. It doesn't automatically get sent to your inventory. You just don't get it. The only way items seem to be sent to your inventory locker is if you're sitting inside the mission and you have a full inventory and then you open up a chest or you get a reward and then it's sent. But if you don't pick it up, you're not getting it. So even if at the end of the mission an item drops from the boss you killed and it automatically hard shuts the screen right there and locks you in place and you can't do anything, it could be a yellow item. It could be a purple item. You're not getting it. That's just the way it's working right now. I don't know if that's a bug, but that's not the way it's working. There are plenty of bugs. The bug thing is the most egregious thing inside this game. If I'm being 100% honest, it is a huge issue. There are so many bugs. I finally got into some of the Hive missions. For instance, I was playing one with a group of 4 people, pickup game, and we all end up leaving because we had to complete the mission 3 or 4 times because the mission would not start at the end or wouldn't pick up the next place inside the event. It was just annoying as hell. There are some, now that those are my cons for the game. Realistically, there are some pros and there are some things that need improvement. So let's take a look at the pros that's in the game. The one thing that everybody is going to tell you is the campaign. The campaign is amazing. The story that they put together is amazing, especially considering that you're fighting a villain tree that isn't really one of the most known villain trees in the MCU. Like AIM isn't one of those villain class groups that you're like, these guys are badass, but they made them very cool. MODOK was one of those villains that reminded me of like Krang from freaking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it was like, yo, this dude's whack as hell in the comic books. He's like a bit tier villain. But guess what? Somehow they made MODOK inside this game just seem to be completely believable as a villain and completely badass. The campaign is one of the best aspects of the game. Next thing that's really, really good is the iconic missions. I love them because I feel like the iconic missions are setups for more follow-on stories for those characters in specific, and they feel really good because you're playing missions that are organically built to that character. And Crystal Dynamics seems to have shined in giving you set piece moments to understand characters' motivations within inside this world, as well as within inside the campaign and who they are nemesis is with, so to speak. So for instance, I'm not going to spoil anything, but Thor's nemesis is Loki. We all know this. And inside his iconic mission, that's where it's going. You only get to play about 3 missions, and you kind of left on a cliffhanger about what's happening. But I expect that these are going to be iconic missions. Are going to have some things to follow. The skill tree is amazing. It's robust. It's really, really good. And at first, when you're first playing the game, it feels like the skills are just basically button smashes. Bang, bang, bang. You know, triangle, triangle, square, square, triangle, triangle, square, square, circle, triangle, square, triangle. And but once you start to unlock some of the modifiers on the skills and things like that, you start to really see where the game starts to open up, and there's a combo system involved inside the game in a way that skills trigger off of there's little sweat piece moments that happen that are really, really cool, where you have interactions between characters doing abilities and stuff like that. Really, really cool. The gameplay loop, like I said, is really great because it's very simple. It doesn't force you into doing anything. The one caveat to that is that when faction assignments are completed and they're done, and I need to go get those faction rewards, there's no way for me to fast track to those faction vendors. I literally have to track my way all the way back to them just to get whatever little faction boost bonus that I get, points it is and stuff like that. I don't know why that is, unless they are trying to make me purchase something from the faction vendors, which just seem like they're at, in the beginning. I would not suggest purchasing anything from the faction vendors until you get to later on in the game, where you're at level 130 and you need 130 drop items for things like Uru or gear items specific. So those are some of the pros for the game. Let's talk about some of the things that need improvement, and most of these things are resolved around bugs within the game that have been talked about by the community on a whole. And I love this little scene, this little thing right here. You see little ant inside the hill, and you see some of the ants around walking on the outside of it. The things that need improvement: frame rate. The frame rates in this game will drop inconsistently. I mean, you could literally have a moment like this right here, or a moment where just the only thing on the screen would be Thor's face, and the frame rates will drop. I mean, significantly will drop. I don't understand it. The combat does get to feel a little clunky at sometimes, especially with mechanics like dodge and parry. It looks clunky, and it feels clunky. It doesn't feel responsive. It needs work. They try to work on the vaulting system in the game, basically, jumping and stuff like that, your movement abilities, whether Cap is somersaulting or Hulk is bounding, or Thor's flying or Iron Man's flying, things like that, and it just feels clunky. A lot of the times it doesn't feel quite right. I would say that they need some improvement in there. The biggest thing is the camera. It's constantly zoomed in at an area in which you cannot really see what's going on in the landscape of the battle, so you're trying to look for little pop-up icons to tell you when you should dodge, when you should counter and stuff like that, and it doesn't work. It really doesn't. You're so zoomed in at default or wide view that it's just too zoomed in on the screen. Really need some work. Comic books. I love the comic books in the game. I love the fact that we're collecting comic books. I mean it 100%. If anybody is hearing this at Crystal Dynamics, I love the comic books. They are really, really, really cool. You collect these comic books and you're going through the game, and here they are. And you can see who's the art covers, who wrote the stories, things like this. I've already said in previous videos, I hope they somehow link this to Marvel Unlimited accounts and things like that. So maybe we can read the comic books. Like, it'd be really cool if I could go to this comic book right here and pop it open if I have a Marvel Unlimited subscription, and have the digital comic book, and then go back and read that inside their catalog directly here on the screen. That would be really cool, as me just taking a break from the game, whatever. I think it would help the comic book industry. I think it would help Marvel sell comics, and I hope it creates some balance. The big thing that I hate about the comic book system is that when you're in the game and you're collecting comic books, instead of showing me what comic book I just got, it just says you just collected a comic book. So I don't know if it's a new comic book. I don't know if I got a duplicate. I just don't know what it is, because it just says comic book, and that's it. It's a little blue comic book icon. It's quite annoying, but it's not that bad. Overall, it's not that bad. The next thing that we want to consider is the challenge card. I don't have a problem with the challenge card. I've said this already. There's a lot of things wrong with the challenge card right now that these these things are not refreshing the way they should. Sometimes the missions that come up for these challenge cards are really, really weird. Like, I'm like, defeat dreadbots with takedowns. I don't know how many times I fought a dreadbot and beated it with a takedown, but this is not triggering. I don't know how many times I defeated 5 or more enemies while I had Warrior's Fury active, but I've only gotten 3 so far. Yeah, it's kind of weird, some of these things that they want you to do. Like this daily, I can tell you this is going to be annoying. Rescue captured hostages, and I got to collect 10 of them. That one's probably going to be annoying. It's probably going to be annoying. The cost of the hero challenge cards doesn't really affect me in any way where I feel negatively about it. It's pretty much $10 per hero. You don't have to purchase these things. You can get these items like Thor suits and stuff like that from your cosmetic vendor in game. I mean, it's going to cost you more, probably about $700 for this suit. I mean, $700 for like this suit, or like or the cosmetic vendor it'd probably be like 1,400 units or something like that. Whereas a legendary item will cost you like 7,000 in-game units. You can see I've built up 9,000 over the course of a week, so that means you could pretty much get like a legendary outfit per week if you wanted to. So I don't really have a problem with it. Plus, you know, if you purchase the challenge card, you're paying $10, but they're giving you back $13 in currency. As you see, there's credits listed inside of here, so you get about 1,300 credits per hero challenge card. So you kind of, it's like a wash. You're basically like going to GameStop and getting a better value instead of them telling you, hey, you got this PlayStation 5, I'm gonna give you $2 for it, and then I'm gonna resell it for that. So it's kind of good. I don't really have a problem with it. The marketplace, on the other hand, it's one of those question mark things about whether or not it's too expensive, or I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, for instance, there's no way for me to get to the marketplace anyways from inside the game. Like you can see, like, I have no way to go here. In order to get to the marketplace, I literally need to exit to the main menu. I'm not bullshitting you. This is serious. Like, why did they do that? There's no way for me to directly get to the marketplace. I do not understand it. It's weird. Like, I think there is a drop down on one of the windows where you can select and click on the marketplace when you preview an item or something like that, but it's annoying. But the marketplace is kind of, it's kind of weird. So like, this would be the last thing that we're really going to be looking at. But the marketplace items, a lot of people are seeming to have some bit of problems with these, because you can see, like, for an epic takedown, legendary emote, even a legendary takedown or something. Well, you don't have legendary takedowns, but legendary emotes and legendary outfits, you're basically paying about $14, anywhere from $10 to $14 for these epic legendary things. Nameplates and stuff like that, they're like $1 per thing or whatever, so they're not too bad. But you can see the prices here, and a lot of people are feeling like $14 for a cosmetic outfit in game. Is it too much? Personally, I don't have a problem with it, because it's what the market will bear, meaning that, you know, you can get these items if you play through the game and earn the in-game currency, and you can go to the vendor and you can purchase these things. However, if you don't want to do that and you don't want to grind for 2 weeks in order to get an item, then you don't have to. You can legitimately just go ahead and purchase it. So like, I really like this takedown right here, where it's Thor throwing up an item, you know, throwing an enemy and catching them on Mjolnir and shocking them. I think it looks really cool. Am I going to pay 1,200 credits for that? I don't really think so. I'd rather grind out that currency in game and then purchase it there. But it's a cool option. That's not to say that there's not going to be some, you know, people who want to have that and want to flex, you know, $12 on it. Right now, at this moment, I just wouldn't purchase it for it. But I really legitimately do not have a problem with the in-game vendors with the currency at all. I think that people will have to understand that the developers have to make money, especially if they're going to be giving you money. I know I said that that was going to be the last thing, but let's slip into one more thing, and that's the crashes, especially on PC. On PlayStation 4, we are seeing that there are a long wait times that are happening, meaning for like loading screens and stuff like that. We're supposed to, PC players, we're seeing crashes, whether you have a 2080 Ti, 2070, or 1080 Ti's, or whatever you're having. PC players, bar none, are getting a lot of crashes. I've looked at some of the GPU usages and CPU usages, and there seems to be just massive spikes, and spikes at weird moments in the game where, like I said to you, there could be necessarily nothing going on screen, and the CPU will spike. The GPU will utilization will be really really high, and it's weird. It's really weird. So the game definitely does not seem optimized in that way or whatever. But overall, my perspective on the game is really that it's going to be a mixed bag. If you are not a fan of the MCU, if you are not a fan of the comics in general and these characters, then I'm going to tell you that you probably should hold off on purchasing the game. And I say that and take it with a grain of salt, but I think there's so many bugs in the game that you're not going to overlook the those bugs, and understanding that Crystal Dynamics right now are trying to be as proactive and reactive as possible to these bugs, and it's going to frustrate you. It's going to frustrate you. I can guarantee you that. If you are an MCU fan, I would say jump on the game. I think you're gonna love it. I think you're gonna really really enjoy some of the characters in the game, like Iron Man, Thor, and Cap. Feel really really great. Kamala Khan and Hulk are awesome as well. Black Widow is going to appeal to a lot of players, maybe just not me, but a lot of players. And there's a lot of set piece moments in here. I would purchase the game simply for the campaign mode. It is amazing. But like I said, that would be my first thing. I would probably rate this game as current standing at like maybe a 7.5, and I think that is really good, and I think there's a lot of potential here. It's way more polished than Anthem was when it was released, but it clearly needs work. I would really like to stop seeing developers who are trying to release games as live services, you know, skimping out on the polishing of the game before its release and wanting to basically use the community as beta testers, or just have longer beta test periods so that way these things are worked out the same way MMORPGs have been doing it for years. Give it a longer beta test, closed alpha, closed beta process, so that way you can get all these kinks worked out, and now you're not relying on the next 2 to 3 weeks to fix things and make it playable for players, so that way reviews start to grow up. But that's my review of Marvel Avengers. I'm really enjoying so far what I've played. I'm happy to have leveled Thor and got his gear and rating almost close to max. He really feels like Thor at this point, and he's a lot of fun to play. I look forward to playing Cap next and trying to level him up, and then Hulk after that. I hope to see you guys in the game. I hope that you pop up in my rando. If you want to submit a like or subscribe and sit here and drop a comment, and maybe I'll add you to my friends list and we can jump in and play some games together and crash some Adaptoids and Synthoids and aim soldiers. It'd be fun. Hopefully we get some more different enemy types later on in the future, in the months to come. I'm looking forward to the raids and dungeons next month, and until next time guys, I've been the Dark Side. Peace.